This is New York firefighter Raphael Porriette for Firehouse Subs. Every day, a part of every sub you buy at Firehouse Subs helps provide life-saving equipment for first responders. And now, for a limited time, they're introducing the Daily Sub Special. Every day, get a medium sub of the day for just $5.55. They kick it off with Meatball Monday and finish it off with Italian Sunday, with something delicious every day in between for just $5.55. Firehouse Subs. Enjoy more subs, save more lives. Tap the banner now to learn more.
It don't take no Einstein to figure out that. Well, you've been peeping and hiding, slipping and sliding, living in vain, selling that crack, and that's a natural fact. Well, I'm gonna get you sucker, dirty mother.
Don't you say that.
I'm gonna teach you the crime, just don't pay. I'm gonna get you sucker, dirty mother.
Don't you
All
say
right.
that.
So, ladies and gentlemen, welcome to Source Material. My name is Jesse Starcher, and tonight we are going to be discussing a book. I don't cover too many books from the 70s. It's pretty rare. I've done a few. One of the ones I can remember off the top of my head, and as a matter of fact, I saw advertised in one of these issues we're talking about tonight. We discussed where me and Benjamin J. Cologne talked about Spider-Man versus Superman. That came out, I think, in '78. So it's rare.
Count.
It counts. It's a crossover. Hey, that makes me happy. You know, I like the crossovers. But yeah, I mean, there's probably just a handful that I've covered here prior to the 1980s. So this will be a fun topic. We're talking Black Lightning, the first 12 issues that came out in 1977 and ended in 1978. So we have come together tonight, and let's talk to the man, the myth, the legend, the guy that makes the Radulich and Broadcasting Network happen. His name is Mark Radulich. Mark Radulich, tell us why we are talking Black Lightning tonight.
We're talking Black Lightning, Jesse Starcher, because next week on the CW, when all of the Arrowverse shows come back, the ones that are scheduled to, apparently Supergirl and Legends of Tomorrow are doing an alternating thing where one of them is coming back until it ends, and then they're switching.
Yeah.
In the place of Legends of Tomorrow's previous time slot, which was 10 o'clock on Tuesdays, I believe, 9 o'clock on Tuesdays, is a show called Black Lightning, based on this comic.
That's
right.
right.
I thought, wouldn't it be nice before the show comes out to talk about the inspiration for this show? Let me just say this: the other reason why we're talking Black Lightning. Look, there's been some talk of a Casual Heroes reunion and whether or not I would be a part of it. I can't be a part of it. I'm too busy doing this show now, and I can't abandon it. I've already made up the schedule for the year.
What's funny is
That's generous. That's,
dude,
not generous, but that's
Ronnie, I'm
selling yourself.
I'm listening to the Jumanji, Damn You Hollywood, okay? And Robert Winfrey and Mark Radulich are going back and forth, as they usually do. And at one point, Mark Radulich utters this bald-faced lie, okay? To which he says, and I tell you this, okay? And this is legit out of his mouth. He says,
Is it a malicious, hang on, is it a malicious ill-willed lie?
It is a malicious, ill-willed lie.
I don't
Go,
know.
please continue. Continue,
I don't
Jesse.
know if it's one of those. Winfrey asked him about some movie that they may be covering in the future. And Mark Radulich says, I don't know. I don't schedule that far in advance. And I about picked up the phone and said, bullshit.
That you
I could
wait,
not.
no,
I
stop.
He said it. I'm not kidding. Mark
Marcus
Radulich.
Bartholomew Radulich. Shame on you for telling such a lie.
Unreal. All right, well, let's talk about Black Lightning here. Ronnie Adams, what's your familiarity with Black Lightning prior to us, diving into this? He exists. I mean, what have you ever seen him in any comics that you've read? Or
yeah, a little bit. I mean, as a background / supporting character, I have. I mean, I'm not super familiar with him. Some of his power set in the comic books that we read for this were surprising to me.
Mm-hmm. There is a cover of a Justice League comic. I'm trying to find it here. I actually have a cover, a copy of this issue. Justice League of America, number 173. I've never read anything with Black Lightning in it. I own this issue, and I've never read the issue. But Superman actually comes to Black Lightning, and he's got his hands extended to him, and he says, "We want you on the team, Black Lightning." All right, and Black Lightning says, and I quote, "With that jive bunch of turkeys in the JLA, forget it." Okay, now here's the thing.
Well, he's got a point.
I based a lot of what my expectation of Black Lightning and how he was written off of that one phrase and that one cover of Justice League of America. I can tell you that what we get in the series is not anywhere near what my expectation was. And Mark, have you ever had any run-ins with Black Lightning at all prior to this in any comics? I know you were a Marvel guy, but I don't know if you ever read any old DC or new DC. You ever see Black Lightning before?
No, I would have been one of those people who if I wasn't quite, the researcher and Wikipedia addict, I would never have known this was a real thing.
Yeah.
Like when I saw the Black Lightning promos, you could have convinced me that they just made that character up for TV.
Yeah, I'm right there with you, man. I knew nothing other than the fact that he was a DC comic book character.
I do have a little bit on you all. I knew he was a comic character. I just didn't know anything about him.
Yeah, I didn't really know much at all. I knew he was from the 70s. My expectation was, okay, he's going to be part of a bunch of blaxploitation storylines, with a name like Black Lightning. Obviously, the creator or somebody is trying to get across a message that, yes, this is an African American who has superpowers. By the way, spoiler alert, we didn't really talk about that. Go ahead.
I was going to say, I think, first of all, the guy that created Black Lightning, I believe, also wrote, if not created, Luke Cage. And I feel like this was their attempt to create a DC Luke Cage.
Yeah, DC's Luke Cage.
Tony Isabella is the writer and the creator of this comic book and the creator of Black Lightning. He created also Black Goliath. Ronnie Adams, you recognize that name, right?
Yes, I do. It's Bill Foster.
That's right. He's created those two. And yes, he has wrote Luke Cage, from what I understand. Trevor Von Eden is the artist, by the way, known for work on such titles as Black Lightning, Batman, Green Arrow, Power Man, and Iron Fist, and the biographical series, The Original Johnson. Yeah, there you go. So that's kind of your creative team. I think it was very interesting. Some of the stuff off the wiki. I want to throw this out there because if I forget, I'm going to kick myself at the end of this podcast. So I'm going to read this to you guys real quick. You guys are more than welcome to comment. I posted this in our chat, but I want to go ahead and read it, see if you guys have any comments. The original candidate for DC Comics' first headlining black superhero was a character called the Black Bomber, a white racist who would turn into a black superhero under stress, but would later be described by comics historian Don Markstein as an insult to practically everybody with any point of view at all. So, I mean, I honestly, it took me like 3 or 4 laps in my brain to try and picture how a character like that would either go over or even be written in comic books. Any comments, or are we just going to leave it at that, Mark?
That's a hysterical, like... Look,
that's a dead accurate description.
Yeah, but look, not to provoke yet another debate with Ronnie Adams this early in the podcast.
I'm lacing up the boots.
But in the defense of creating a Black Bomber character, there were blacks who bombed in the 60s and 70s. There were radical black nationalists who acted as terrorists, and it would not be the weirdest thing in the world for a comic book artist or for a comic book creator to use that as inspiration. For better or for worse.
Ronnie, could you imagine the conflict that just unfolded upon the pages of the Black Bomber when this white racist who gets mad turns into a black man? I mean, the internal conflict alone.
My nose almost bleeds thinking about it. It just, even back then, what is going through your mind?
Exactly.
Wasn't there a movie?
What an interesting social experiment that would be. No. Think about it. Like, you're a white racist, and when you lose control, you become a black nationalist.
Wasn't there a movie where a white racist man was reincarnated as a black man?
Okay, well, that was a Chappelle show skit, and he was blind. And
No, he was a blind white supremacist who was black.
Right.
That was a Chappelle show, but there was a movie. I thought, or
maybe you're thinking of Soul Man, where a white guy used like tanning solution to become a black guy, and he puts Jerry curls in his hair.
That was just
get into Harvard or Yale.
That was just offensive,
or funny, depending on your point of view.
Well, yeah, I mean, but
are you thinking
I'm
of
not allowed to have a point of view?
Are you thinking of Black Like Me, the book where a writer again disguises himself as a white writer disguises himself as a black person to understand the black plight?
All right, so
what did I say?
If there are any listeners, I don't know. I'm just moving on because I don't think we're going to have an answer as to Ronnie's misguided attempt at trying to figure out what that movie is. And I want our listeners to chime in at some point. If you guys know what in the world Ronnie Adams is thinking of here, please send it over. All right, so here we go. Okay, so what we're going to do here is I'm going to do my best to summarize the 6 issues, and then we'll kind of talk a little bit about what I brought forth, and then we'll do the last 6, and we'll talk about that. Now, Tony Isabella did the first 10 issues of this series. It was then handed over to Denny O'Neil, who did the last 2. Well, actually, he did the last 2. If you were buying Black Lightning on the newsstands at that time, it only went to issue 11. And then issue 12 was canceled in what they called the DC implosion at that point in time, where a bunch of titles got canceled. And then in World's Finest Comics number 260, they actually published the final 12th issue, which we'll just, I'll discuss here. All right, so here we go. Now let's talk about the character Black Lightning. Now, Black Lightning comes from, he actually grew up in what is called the Suicide Slum in Metropolis. As an African American, grew up, became a Olympic decathlete. Well, the thing is that they bring that up a lot throughout these issues.
Yeah.
They always bring up, this isn't the decathlon or whatever. They would always kind of bring that up, that he was an Olympic athlete. And I think he performed in 2 or placed in 2 sets of Olympics. But anyway, he's a pretty jacked dude already. He's got skills. We'll just put it that way. In our first few issues, you really don't get much of any powers, really. It's not like the guy can shoot lightning out of it's not like he can run really fast. He's kind of like your just average Joe. That's make that your average, you're better than average athlete. And he has a friend of his by the name of Mr. Gamby. It's a family friend that's been around for quite a while, and he's actually his tailor who creates some kind of electromagnetic belt. So think of Punisher's microchip. That's kind of how I envision him, although nowhere near as detailed. He would just go to him, he would kind of hook him up with a few tools, and then Jefferson Pierce, Black Lightning, could go out and do his duty. Now, how did Jefferson Pierce become Black Lightning? Well, here's the thing. When he came back to Suicide Slum to begin living again, he became a teacher at Garfield High School. And while teaching there, one day he befriended a student who became or somehow had an altercation, became involved or had an altercation with a guy by the name of Joey Toledo, this drug pusher. And Jefferson Pierce stepped in. There was a fracas, a ruckus, if you will. Jefferson Pierce, the teacher, put Joey Toledo in his place. Joey Toledo on
his face into some lockers.
Yeah, he messed them up.
It was pretty rough.
Smashing somebody's face into lockers. This is kind of violent. I agree. It's violent. But yeah.
Depends on who you're asking.
So Joey Toledo, by the way, he works for a guy by the name of the White Whale, who's this albino man. If you look at him, he looks like an albino. Kingpin. Thank you very much. I have
white. Is it the Kingpin, Mark?
White Kingpin.
Kingpin.
Albino Kingpin.
Albino Kingpin.
The White Whale is he's a member of what they call the 100. The 100 is mentioned through, I think, the first 6 or 8 issues here quite a bit. The 100 is a gang of gangs, I guess you would say, or the 100 families across the United States that are mobsters. So the 100 mobster families across the United States. And the White Whale is a member of one of them, actually one of the stronger members of the 100. But anyway, so Joey Toledo gets upset about the fact that Jefferson Pierce has interfered, goes and finds the student later, like a day or so later, and long story short, the kid ends up getting killed. Joey Toledo was just going to rough him up. He ends up getting hit by a car. Sad story.
Like you do.
Like you do. The thing is that Joey Toledo just send a message, takes the kid and strings him up on a basketball hoop. So the next morning when Jefferson Pierce walks in, he sees the kid hanging there dead. At that point in time, that's where Black Lightning is born. He has decided to make it his goal to try and end crime around Suicide Slum and become the hero that the people need. All right. So that's kind of where issue 1 takes us. Issue 2, we learn a few more things about his powers and his belt. I think he's able to electrify something and shock some guys by using his belt. He's going after Toledo in issue 2. Okay, so Joey Toledo's on his hit list, and he's going to go take things to him. In the middle of this issue 2, we have Talia al Ghul show up, which was kind of a surprise in my opinion.
That was weird.
Yeah, she just kind of shows up out of nowhere, but she's been tracking this guy by the name of Merlin, who apparently is working for the White Whale as well. Merlin shows up. I think he ends up killing Toledo. Talia al Ghul ends up trying to go after him, and Black Lightning's like, look, no, let him go. There's too much killing been going on. Let Merlin go, and we'll live to fight another day. How's that?
Can I comment on that for 1 second? So, I just got into what in the past year, throughout 2017, in my various hospitalizations, I got into watching Arrow.
Yeah.
And the villain in the first season of Arrow is actually Merlin the Magician.
Oh, really? Okay.
Yeah, I had no idea. What he was. I mean, like every time I've watched Arrow, I literally have to go through the wiki and be like, all right, who's a real character and who's made up bullshit. I'm finding out about all these lesser known DC characters, the ones outside of the pantheon of gods, basically Superman, Batman, etc., backwards. And because I watched the CW Arrowverse shows. So it was I've seen him in a bunch of seasons of Arrow, and then he was on the last season of Legends of Tomorrow as part of the Legion of Doom. And I was like, who the hell is this guy? And then he shows up in Black Lightning. I'm like, that's fun.
Yep. And they mentioned that he's a member of the League of Assassins, and that's why Talia was trying to go after him.
Yeah, which is actually pretty accurate of a description in Arrow.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. Now, what's the girl? What's her name? Ra's al Ghul's daughter's name in Arrow. It's not Talia.
Her name is Nyssa.
Okay.
Yeah. Despite one name being different, it was pretty freaking accurate.
Okay, so Merlin goes off to fight another day. Our heroes, Black Lightning kind of regrets the fact that he's become kind of a violent superhero, convinces Talia not to go after Merlin, and no more bloodshed for that issue. Now, issue 3, Black Lightning is blamed for the killing of Toledo. And we also get our introduction to Purple Hat Jive Talking brother by the name of 2 Bits. And he's found out where the White Whale's headquarters is. Let's just go ahead and get this out of the way. Did you guys get a blaxploitation feel of what you read? Okay. Did you get that at all?
Yeah, but not as much as Luke Cage.
Okay.
Luke Cage definitely felt more like you could actually hear the Shaft theme when you read a Luke Cage, a 70s Power Man and Iron Fist. I mean, I remember when the Netflix series came out and Gavin was like, if he's not like a jive talking, high afro having, jive soul bro, then that's not Power Man. Which there's an argument to be made for that. I don't know if I agree, but that is one argument. And definitely the old 70s Power Man and Iron Fist, Luke Cage, it just came across like 70s B movie fare.
Mm-hmm.
The white kung fu guy, the jive talking brother, taking it to the streets. You just hear Shaft in the background the whole time. The Black Lightning character, one of the things I liked about him, I liked and disliked. Because on the one hand, while I think that he is definitely a product of the time, they paid his characterization is such that they made sure they paid certain tribute to the fact that he is an educated black guy. Not all black people, talk like Jive Soul Bro.
Mm-hmm.
They're not all slick. Everyone take a drink from the WWF. And so he speaks appropriately. He speaks like a man with an education. He's got a little bit of slang to him because don't we all, right? We're all educated people, but we all, carry with us a little bit of slang, a little bit of vernacular. And so that's there, but it isn't every other word out of his mouth. He's not calling everybody a turkey, that sort of thing.
Mm-hmm.
So this is actually a more elevated version of the blaxploitation character. But there's definitely some of that there because a lot of those blaxploitation movies are angry black men man faces tragedy, takes his anger to the streets and brings down the mob.
Okay.
Or brings down a gang. They're almost like to a letter, to a movie, all written the same way. And that's what this is. I mean, he literally, like, he's the educated black man who comes back home to wrest. I mean, he says it in every issue, to wrest control of the streets from the gang that took it over. Mm-hmm. That's literally every blaxploitation movie. That's the plot.
Okay, Ronnie, do you agree with Mark? I mean, did you see exploitation elements in here as well?
I did, but not like I expected.
Okay.
It was very light in those elements, and a lot of people might disagree with me, but you haven't read a lot of comic books from the 70s. I saw where he called people turkeys. There was a whitey thrown out there, things like that. For the time, that was just the language. And
it wasn't abundant. That was
it wasn't like every other word.
Yeah, mostly what I was looking for was the overuse of slang.
Yeah.
And pimp slapping somebody or something stupid like that. I thought that's what I would be seeing a lot of. Or at least that's kind of what I was going to expect if it was trying to use that type of genre in this book.
Right.
Didn't see that a whole lot. So.
No, not at all. Or we saw it a little bit, but not. A little bit.
Yeah.
To the point of, I mean, you saw that a lot in like Power Man and Power Man and Iron Fist and other comic books. Even in the predominantly like in your main comic book heroes, if they had a African American character show up in the 70s, he talked like that, Mm-hmm. So it wasn't as predominant as it was in other books. And that was actually, it was quite pleased with that, because it's one of the, I just didn't want it to be another stereotypical 70s comic book.
Yes. Yes.
Lots of word bubbles.
Black Lightning being blamed for the killing of Toledo. The police are now on his tail, kind of watching for him. We meet Two Bits, already talked about him. He finds out where the White Whale's headquarters is, and lets Black Lightning know where it's at. We see like where this electromagnetic belt that he is wearing is making Black Lightning stronger. It seems like he even surprises himself a couple times at how strong he's becoming. We also meet Miss Lynn Stewart, who is a new addition to the school. She's a new teacher. Black Lightning goes after the White Whale in issue 3. Cops are going to arrest the White Whale and Black Lightning both, but both of the White Whale and Black Lightning are able to escape. And at one point, Black Lightning actually activates his electromagnetic belt in order to try and get away from this guy by the name of Inspector Henderson. When he does that, I think he gives like the inspector a heart attack.
A heart attack, yeah.
Yeah, he's down on the ground, doubled over. So now he's got injuring a police officer on his rap sheet as well. His rap sheet. Then we go to issue 4, which, hey, it's about time we get the big guy from Metropolis in here. A guy by the name of Superman, who's on the freaking cover of this. The story starts out with Jimmy Olsen, who is working kind of with the police and trying to find and dig on the story of Black Lightning, this vigilante who's making his way around the Suicide Slums. The White Whale, our nefarious leader here, has employed a guy by the name of the Cyclotronic Man, a guy by the name of Ned Cregan.
I know that character.
I've never heard of this guy in my life.
So
I don't even know what a cyclotron is. I was like, I'm going to have to look.
Nobody knows what a cyclotron is.
Cyclotron. So the Cyclotronic Man, he ends up going after Jimmy Olsen to try and bait Superman. So he's got some kind of agenda against Superman here. Black Lightning, however, sees what's going on and interferes. Black Lightning and Jimmy Olsen team up to try and face the Cyclotronic Man. Jimmy Olsen's clearly outmatched. He gets tossed into an air conditioning unit on the roof. Black Lightning's afraid Jimmy Olsen's dead. I mean, he's not moving. Luckily, Black Lightning is soon able to best the Cyclotronic Man, but as soon as he goes to check on Jimmy Olsen, Superman appears and tells him to stay away. Get away from Jimmy Olsen. If you've heard him, something like if you heard him, I'm going to tear you apart. Yeah, Superman's telling Black Lightning this. So that's kind of where we end issue 4. Now we get into issue 5. We have the showdown pretty much between Superman and Black Lightning. As Superman approaches Black Lightning, for some reason assumes that he's going to attack him and punches Superman. I don't know how, but Black Lightning is able to dodge Superman here. I think Superman comes at him and Black Lightning's able to get out of his way pretty quickly, but he is definitely outmatched. And near the end, as he wears out, Superman goes to check on Jimmy Olsen. And we forgot about our third player in this, fourth player, the Cyclotronic Man, who ends up attacking Superman and bringing down the building that they're on top of. This all happens on the top of a roof. And he brings down this building on top of Superman and his friends. But that's no sweat, as Superman brings both Black Lightning and Jimmy Olsen out of the wreckage of this building. So the Cyclotronic Man takes off and runs away. Supes decides, though, he's not going to chase after him. Superman's like, no, I'm not going after him. Instead, he's going to bring in Black Lightning. That's right. He's going to bring Black Lightning to justice right now. But Black Lightning's like, look, man, I did not kill Joey Toledo. And at that moment, Superman uses his telescopic vision and confirms that Joey Toledo died by an arrow shot by Merlin. Okay, yeah, there we just wrap that plot up nice and neat, as he can use his micro or telescopic vision to figure all that out. So Superman now believes Black Lightning. Somehow Black Lightning says, hey, look, why don't you toss me? Toss me. I want to catch up with the Cyclotronic Man. Superman throws Black Lightning. He crashes
into the sun.
Throws him, and he goes through the roof, and he catches up with old Cyclotronic Man here, who is in the middle of a conversation with this masked man. This man who has been apparently an advisor to the White Whale, and I guess leaking police information to the White Whale. We don't know why, but Black Lightning and the Cyclotronic Man tussle as the Man in the Mask escapes. And then at the end of the issue, Inspector Henderson leaves the hospital, comes home to meet his son, a young man who just got home and threw his mask into his top drawer. Yes, the same masked man that was talking to the Cyclotronic Man is the inspector's son and is also in league with the 100 and the White Whale. So we have this little bit of a plot thread where the inspector's son is kind of a criminal as well. Issue 6, Black Lightning's good friend, Jefferson Pierce's family friend, Mr. Gamby, has been kidnapped. And we find out there's a little bit of a history with now I told you guys, and I want to let everybody know right now it's been kind of standard fare for comic books here, but we're going to get into some spoiler territory. So I want everybody to understand, if you're interested in watching the Black Lightning series, we're about to start coming onto some pretty big plot points for some characters that are pretty essential to this show. So just be prepared. If you want to turn us off, come back later after you watch the season. You're going to be waiting to hear from us for a while, apparently. But regardless, we're getting ready to spoil some stuff. So Mr. Gamby, who's been kidnapped, we find out that he has a history, kind of his history with Jefferson Pierce. And apparently Mr. Gamby showed up after Jefferson's dad had died and befriended his mom and him. Back at school, we find out that Lynn Stewart was actually married to Jefferson in the past, because you could tell that they aren't getting along when she shows up, and you'd wonder why. And it turns out that Lynn Stewart's actually Jefferson Pierce's ex-wife. Cyanide, the villain of this issue, has kidnapped Mr. Gamby to get at Black Lightning. He ends up shooting Black Lightning with this mind-numbing drug, with this dart. Cyanide puts a leash around his neck, and he's apparently susceptible now to the power of suggestion. So Cyanide can tell Black Lightning something, and he's going to do it. So he slips a leash around Black Lightning's neck and walks off with Black Lightning. And then we get a reveal that Mr. Gamby, the tailor friend of Black Lightning, the family friend of Jefferson Pierce, was actually the man that killed Black Lightning's father. That's right. Black Lightning, Jefferson Pierce lost his dad to seemed to be a random shooting. And apparently after doing this, Cyanide says, hey, look, this guy kind of horned in on your mom and you guys after this had happened. I don't think there's a romantic relationship between Mr. Gamby and Jefferson's mom, but there is that bit that makes you think, well, okay, what's going on here? So that was kind of the cliffhanger of issue 6. So guys, it's been quite a while since we started from issue 1 to issue 6. And I don't know if you guys remember what happened in the previous 5 issues, but do you guys have any comments, suggestions? We'll start with Mark there. First 6 issues of Black Lightning. Let's hear what you got to say about them.
I said before that there were things I liked about the Black Lightning character and then things I wasn't crazy about. Marvel, I thought, always did a really good job of making their heroes fallible. Even someone like Captain America, who was all, Nancy Reagan and apple pie, especially in the later years, they made him a renegade against the government. They blew him up in a meth lab, and he had to get the super soldier serum out. There's always something about these characters that makes them imperfect, gives them blemishes. I'm looking at this Black Lightning character, and he's an Olympic athlete, and he's a teacher, and he's a this, and it was like, is there anything that he isn't?
Yeah, there's not too many faults.
Yeah,
and he's good to his mother. It's just like, all right, it's the Superman thing. It's like, okay, well, he's perfect. Who cares?
Yeah.
But I think because I'm just intrinsically drawn to a lot of Black culture, especially, as I was saying before, I love Blaxploitation movies. Back when I was collecting DVDs, I had a ton of those movies. I really studied this stuff. Soul Cinema, that was the company that had the rights to a lot of these movies and was repackaging them and selling them as DVDs. So I think I enjoyed the first 6 issues on that level, that it took me back to that time and, that kind of motif. And the character, again, wasn't so over the top 70s Black guy that I didn't want to poke my eyes out after reading his dialogue. Which, as much as I loved Luke Cage, that would drive me nuts after a while.
What you talking about, Jive Turkey?
Yeah, exactly. It was like, oh gosh, if you ever read some of the Sunday funnies, oh gosh, what was the one character who was what used to wear the hat over his eyes? Yeah, and it was almost unintelligible what they made that character say. I couldn't understand half of what I was reading because it was all done in like pig Latin, basically.
I think it's supposed to be have a Cockney accent.
Yeah, it was unintelligible, is what it was.
It sucked, Ronnie. Okay, oh my god.
and so thankfully, there's not a lot of that here. I thought it was interesting, and I don't know how I feel about it. Intent plays a large part of how I feel about certain things. And if they were using a character like Superman to sell the book, I don't know if I really enjoyed then his participation in the story. I also thought it was retarded and unbelievable, that Black Lightning stood a chance against Superman.
Yeah. Ronnie, what are your thoughts here on the first 6 issues?
It was enough to hold my attention. Really, really surprised and kind of pleased at the lack of the Blaxploitation element in it. Just like I think you pointed out on a messenger, and I completely agree with that. I really want to talk about White Whale.
Okay.
Because when did Patrick Starr's albino cousin turn to crime?
That's a wonderful comparison, because I was trying to figure out what was a great person to compare him to. And yeah, Patrick Starr is just about right. His head comes to a point.
Yeah.
I don't know if they were actually shooting to try and make him look like a whale, but he's some type of a mutant or deformed human being.
He's not a whale.
All right, let's get through these next 6 issues real quick, and we will call it a night here. We'll get through our 6 issues and plugs. I'll do my best to try and keep these as short as possible. All right, here we go. So at the end of issue 6, Black Lightning is trapped. The White Whale has captured Black Lightning. He is using cyanide. The White Whale wants cyanide to kill him, and cyanide is he has reservations about doing this. Apparently he has some kind of an honor code, which is really strange, but he doesn't want to kill Black Lightning. Black Lightning lets Mr. Gamby know that he knows now that he was the one who killed his father. Fisto and Quick Kick, which is not the real names, by the way, but they certainly look like them. Some dude with a metal fist and guy with a bandolier with ninja stars on them. They're not their real names.
This is why people in Hollywood don't respect comic books. And we can do this better. Or let's make this a little realistic, because who's running around there in a bright yellow leotard with ninja stars?
Okay, who's running around there with metal teeth, jaws from
that's true,
James Bond?
That's true. So they show up. Fisto and Quick Kick showed up and to escort Black Lightning to the arena to be killed right in front of White Whale. Black Lightning escapes. He makes his way to the arena, and White Whale orders Cyanide to kill Black Lightning. So even though he escaped, he's still making his way to the arena. Cyanide pulls the trigger, but Mr. Gamby dives in front of the bullet, saving Black Lightning's life. Cyanide, in a weird twist of, like I said, he had some kind of an honor code. Cyanide also dies. He rigs the gun to kill himself as he pulls the trigger because he's broken his code of honor, which is just strange. The white whale is brought down by Black Lightning, who, after watching Mr. Gamby sacrifice himself, begins to also start to show some kind of superpowers. At least that's the way I took it. So he actually starts to gain superpowers after watching this happen. Inspector Henderson is now also, who's been after Black Lightning, and the tipster who is giving these gangsters info, unaware that that's his son that has been doing this. So that's kind of issue 7. Mr. Gamby dies. Cyanide kills himself trying to kill Black Lightning, and the white whale has been captured. Now, issue 8. The white whale's in the police station and he escapes police custody. He takes Inspector Henderson hostage after laying to rest Mr. Gamby and sort of reconciling with his ex-wife, Lynn. Jefferson Pierce dons his afro mask combination wig. Yes, that is correct.
That's the other thing I forgot to mention.
He becomes Black Lightning and finds the white whale who had just escaped police custody. And, of course, a duel ensues in front of Inspector Henderson. The white whale informs Henderson that, hey, says, look, it's been your son who's informing me about the police procedures this whole time, whatever. So now Inspector Henderson has found out that his own son is a criminal. Black Lightning is given an opening and takes down the white whale. So he takes him down. Henderson apologizes to Black Lightning. Now the 100, or at least a crucial part of the 100, seems defeated. And that is kind of where we end the story arc, this whole massive story arc between Black Lightning and the white whale. Now, these next few issues are kind of one note, one shot, almost kind of deal, where issue 9, we have a villain show up by the name of the Annihilist, who is a terrorist who's come and taken a class hostage at Garfield High School, the one that Jefferson Pierce teaches at. It also turns out that his ex-wife Lynn and her class are also taken hostage. And there's a bit of a discussion between Inspector Henderson and a new cop by the name of Jim Corrigan, who shows up here. Yes, Jim Corrigan, the Spectre. Which is kind of interesting. And he is listed as being a prime player in this series. He only really shows up twice. And he honestly only is in like a couple panels here. Well, I shouldn't say that, because he teams up with Black Lightning, goes into the basement to try and rescue the class from these terrorists. So when they break into there's these robot goons everywhere. Black Lightning saves the day and escapes home to tell 2-Bits the story about what happened. But as he's in the middle of the story, someone busts through the door, and it's none other than his ex-wife, Lynn Stewart, pretty much telling Jefferson Pierce that she knows that he is Black Lightning. And that's kind of where we end issue 9. So we got the team up between Jim Corrigan and the Black Lightning going in there and taking care of business. But the big thing is Lynn Stewart is now aware of who Jefferson Pierce really is. Now, in issue 10, the Trickster shows up, and there's a big scheme to steal a diamond from a carnival. It's a whole big deal. The funniest part of this whole issue is the dumb guy who is doubling as a fake Black Lightning, a guy by the name of Jocko, okay, who, one of my favorite quotes, and I think I shared this with you guys, is where he tells this woman that, he's a big dumb ex-football player who got fired off the team because he tackled his own quarterback. Now, try and figure that shit out. Okay? I can understand some mistakes in football, but tackling your own quarterback, you're on offense, you dumbass. You're supposed to block. All right. So anyway,
just one time. I played baseball.
Yeah.
And there was a plan of like a group of guys were going to run up, and then the guys in the back, we would defend the base, and we would give them cover. And I'm not a soldier. I'm not trained in the art of warfare. And I heard people coming, so I shot my paintball gun.
You lit up your teammate, didn't you?
Yeah. So all those guys that ran out ahead all come back covered in paint.
You shot him? Oh my gosh.
And they're looking at me like, dude, what did you do?
Why did you do this?
And I'm like, what did you just shoot politely?
Right. Yeah. Yeah.
I did.
Oh, wow.
I don't know what I was shooting at, but I heard people coming, and I just sprayed the woods
Ronnie, have you ever
And
shot your own teammate?
Yeah.
Because I know you play a lot of paintball.
Airsoft.
Whatever it is. Airsoft, yeah.
Yeah, not paintball, but airsoft. Listen, we played airsoft at a paintball field. So we would take turns with the paintballers using certain field. If they weren't playing, we'd play, kind of a deal. We were sitting and relaxing and resting after a game, and I was watching some of the paintballers. They paint, but this guy brings his girlfriend, and she doesn't know what she's doing.
Okay.
Which, this is her first time. No big deal. We'll teach you, blah, blah, blah. And so he tells her when the buzzer hits, and now he's hardcore. You can tell he likes paintball. When the buzzer hits, you run out and you shoot the other team. And that was his basic instructions. You don't tell them, people much other than that. So she's sitting there and she is nervous as all get out. Just, you can tell she's kind of shaking a little bit. She's ready to go. She doesn't know what to do. The buzzer hits. Rambo takes off running in front of her as soon as the buzzer hits, not knowing that as soon as the buzzer hits, she just laid the hammer down and lit him up from ankle to the back of his head. And he's like, what the F are you doing? Just let into her. He's like, I can't believe you shot me. She goes, I don't know what I'm doing. And it was the funniest thing.
Oh, dude.
And paintballers and airsofters tend not to get along very well.
Okay.
Sometimes. So when we're all laughing our butts off in full tactical gear, sitting there looking like a bunch of morons, he did not enjoy that in the least.
Oh,
but
dude.
It was the funniest freaking thing I've seen in a long time, which puts me in a lot in the mind of tackling your own quarterback. Because as Rambo as this guy was, you could tell he was going to be the player.
Yeah.
Boy, she took him out of the game quick.
That's
Just
hilarious.
like within the first 5 seconds, he was done. He had to sit out the entire round.
Man. Well, one of the things I wanted to point out about this issue 10, other than Jocko and his hijinks. I mean, obviously the Trickster gets stopped. The diamond doesn't leave. Nothing really extensive happens in here. Like I said, it's a one-off. But there's a very strange couple pages, and I don't know if you guys saw it or not. But there's like this, this like cult that's meeting in this church. It's all happening like in between interludes of these chapters, and then that there's some creepy stuff going on. All the servants of the church and the guy, the priest or whatever, they all leave. And then there's just this picture sitting on the altar, and then it kind of zooms in panel by panel until you finally get up to the picture. And it's a picture of Lynn Stewart, Black Lightning's ex-wife. So that there's some kind of nefarious stuff that's going to go down. Never gets resolved. It's just like, oh shit, what's going to happen?
That's disappointing.
Does not pop up in issue 11, and the ill-fated issue 12 does not resolve a single thing as to what happens. So I don't know what's going on here. What's strange is that issue 10 is where the original writer, what was his name again? Tony Isabella stops. And he turns it over to Dennis O'Neil, and Dennis O'Neil does nothing. It just whoop, that's gone. That whole plot thread is just done with. So anyway, okay. So issue 11. This is another one-off story. It's a strange. I say strange. It's kind of like one of those the more you know messages. It's about a student named Paco that Jefferson knows through teaching at school, and his uncle, who's a drunk. And his uncle has been helping this guy by the name of Major Corpo, who is a dirty.
It sounds like a terrible TV show. Paco and his drunk
Trust
uncle.
me, this could have been a TV show at some point. This particular issue. Anyway, Major Corpo, who's this dirty businessman who's bringing over illegal immigrants who happen to be from the home country that Paco and his uncle are from. Now, the uncle has tormented himself and taken to drinking because of, him being forced to kind of help Major Corpo out and do this to his own people. Black Lightning arrives to help after a recent shipment of men, human trafficking going on here. A recent shipment of men show up from the country. And there's a big scuffle, and there's an errant, bullet that kills Paco's love interest. So this happens in front of Paco and Paco's uncle. And then immediately Major Corpo's sway of these men he brought over is lost as Black Lightning turns around and knocks him out. At that time, the uncle drops his bottle and swears to better himself after these events. There you go. That's the end of issue 11. That's really all there is to it. It's just kind of like, okay, well, hey, the guy was a drunk and he watched some bad shit go down, and he's gonna turn himself around after that. All right, so that's the end of what you saw on shelves for Black Lightning. Now, issue 12, like I said, shows up it's not published as Black Lightning issue 12. It becomes a backup story or a story in World's Finest 260, which was just basically a bunch of stories put together. That's what the World's Finest comics were. Now, in this one, it's Black Lightning versus a guy by the name of Dr. Polaris, who has some kind of magnetic power. And as we mentioned before, Black Lightning has that electromagnetic belt that helps us, he uses a lot to try and take down the bad guys. There's some kind of a message here about abuse of parents, because there's this kid who's going around who ran away from his parents just because they were jerks, and ends up, Mark Radlich, you asleep?
Nope, I'm here.
Okay, all right. The snoring woke him up. So anyway, this kid runs away. He ends up running to his uncle. Turns out his uncle is Dr. Polaris. Oh my goodness, what a big goof. And Black Lightning saves the day. So that's kind of really all issue 12 was. And there's a message at the end where Black Lightning says, hey, look, your family needs you. Even though your parents are broken and they're abusive pieces of crap, you need to stick around the house to try and help them out, to try and make them better. So it's some kind of a message in regards to running away from home. That's it, man. That's 12 issues. I mean, really what we had here, to summarize things, we have the big story arc between the White Whale and Black Lightning, Mr. Gamby's death, Lynn Stewart's appearance, and now she knows. By the way, the whole thing that she knew who Black Lightning was maybe comes up one more time. That's about
it. Gets resolved.
Never, not that big of an issue. It's.
I know you're Black Lightning, so.
Not really much of a big deal, because I think in the next issue it's brought up one more time, and she's just kind of helping him out, and that's it. So, okay, final thoughts, Mark, so we can get out of here. What's your final thoughts on the Black Lightning series that we covered tonight?
My final thoughts about Black Lightning are that it was fine. I'm interested in the TV show. That was the idea. It was to sort of build up interest in this show in the best way we could. So I'm excited to see what they do with it. Apparently, the show's really good from the early reviews that I've read. They did a better job of sort of explaining the Black experience in modern America than Luke Cage did. And Luke Cage, that's what it got the biggest credit for, was Plight of the Black Man. Mm-hmm. This fable about a black hoodie who is bulletproof. So volumes. I think the first half of this tried to do that. I think it starts to lose a sense of itself and just becomes a
comic
book.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Yeah, it becomes just another comic. The last couple of issues, which is a little disappointing. I like a comic with an edge to it, with a bit of an agenda. But overall, look, they're not all going to be knock it out of the park home runs. They're not all going to be wacky Raceland stinkers. This was somewhere in the middle.
I thought you were going to say it knocked it out of the park. I was like, you shut your mouth.
Wacky Raceland, number one. Yeah, I agree with you there. 1977, 1978, it's a good story to be told in that period of time, to be honest. I mean, it's actually the first part, but the arc with him and the White Whale is actually pretty decent. I enjoyed it. I was excited, and they threw in some twists. This wasn't your typical superhero stuff. Pretty hard. I was impressed. We'll just put it that way. For a late 70s comic book and a story about, one of the first African American superheroes that DC has had, I think our writer here did a great job. Tony Isabella did a great job telling the tale. Just like you said, it does turn into a bit of a comic book in the last few issues, but heck, I don't think they knew what was going on. I have a feeling that they knew the writing was on the wall at about issue 11, that this series probably wasn't going to continue. Hence why we didn't have any resolve from issue 2.
No resolution whatsoever on a lot of this stuff. I'd be lying if I said it wasn't kind of hard to pay attention to, wasn't for me to relate to. It was, the storylines were good. They kept everything going, of course, up until towards the end when like you said, the writing was on the wall. Yeah. They weren't going to stick around. So they were just kind of like, just let's get some stuff out and be done with it. That's what it felt like, at least.
Yeah.
It was good. It was definitely a 70s comic book. Definitely a 70s comic book. Lots of explaining things as you were doing it.
Yeah, there's not enough faith in the art to tell the story sometimes.
Right. If I could just punch him in the jaw and knock him out, I'll be, that's what, as he's doing it kind of a deal. So
yeah,
it was, but it was good. I mean, I'm not going to say that I didn't enjoy it, but, I enjoyed some of it, most of it.
Are you glad you read this to kind of give you a bit of a primer for the show?
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely.
You're now a little bit more familiar with the characters, the main characters that are going to happen. So, all right. Okay, Mark Rattle, let's get into plugs, man, and get out of here. What go for plugs, sir.
The other reason why we're doing Black Lightning is we're celebrating Martin Luther King Day here on the Rattleage Broadcasting Network.
That's right.
Are we?
Yes.
This is next week there, Ronnie. That's happening, buddy, next Monday.
I know, but
oh, okay. Let's
Black
just make
Power.
it
Black Power.
Yeah,
Black Powder.
That's
on the
Pirates Week.
16th of January, we'll have the gang back together to discuss The Runaways, which by that point will have ended. I believe the last episode of the season, which has been renewed, is January 9th.
Maybe they'll actually run away.
Yeah, maybe.
I think. Yeah.
Nobody ran away on The Runaways. What a rip.
What a rip off.
On the Metal Hammer of Doom, we're reviewing the new Corrosion of Conformity. Following week, January 22nd, we're doing The Vision, the entire run by Tom King.
It's gonna be good.
So good. I'm looking forward to that so much.
We're going to review The Orville on TV Party tonight on the 23rd. That's also been renewed for a second season.
Good.
And then on the Metal Hammer of Doom, we're going to look at Avatar Country. And then we end January, otherwise known as Jesse's month. January 29th, we're Jesse and I, because I wish I was Jesse. Anyway,
You've done that bit
TV
already.
Party tonight. Black Mirror season 4. So there's no source material that week. Jesse has you would think that Jesse would have the night off, but no rest for the wicked. He'll be on TV Party tonight, Black Mirror, live and in Poison, January 29th. And then our second on trial for the month of January, Sean's pick. We're going to look at The Godfather Part 3. And then finally, Machine Head Catharsis, January 31st. And that wraps up the month of January. If you're listening to this again live on the Rattleage Broadcasting Network, the previous week we did 300 by Frank Miller. We did 300 on trial, and we reviewed Watain on the Metal Hammer of Doom. Ronnie's favorite band, by the way.
Oh
No.
he's got a lot of favorite bands. All right, Mark, is that it?
I'm so tired.
You are officially relieved of duty, sir. You can go to bed.
No.
Yay!
All right. I have a show called the Screaming Boy Podcast where Adam, Jesse, and I talk about a plethora of randomness. We are getting ready to release 2 shows. One is we talk about our favorite TV shows. I know The Orville was mentioned. Jesse, you talked about, what did you talk about?
Well, me and you talked Superstore.
Yeah, Superstore. You had Superstore.
Adam, you couldn't remember the one Adam talked
Adam had Silicon Valley.
Very good.
And Josh Calanders had Runaways.
That's right.
And I had something. I can't remember. I can't remember what I talked about. That's
Chlamydia.
just awesome. No. STDs are not mentioned on our show very often. So anyway, so we're getting ready to release that. And then you and I had a discussion about The Last Jedi, which is going to come out directly after that one. And then you can find us on any social media. Look on Facebook for Screaming Boy Podcast, on Instagram, Screaming Boy Podcast, and then Twitter, Screaming Boy PR. I'm getting ready to go to several cons coming up. You and I talked about some cons before. That show's actually out there on iTunes, Stitcher, TuneIn, and here. I think it's on the network as well. So we talked about some cons that we've been to, and I broke down. And I'm going back to North Carolina Comic Con in Raleigh this time, Oak City as they call it. I splurged on both of these. I came into some extra funds that I was not planning on, so I decided to go ahead and get VIP tickets for both these cons, which I was pleasantly surprised to find out at North Carolina Comic Con, the guest of honor is going to be Kevin Eastman from Eastman and Laird, to the creators of Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. And with my ticket, I actually get con-specific artwork. You can only get it there, and he will sign one piece of artwork for me, Kevin Eastman, for free. So the artists and everybody usually charge for their autographs and pictures and things. So I'm pretty stoked about that. So that's why I'm going back to meet Kevin Eastman. And then so there'll be some good stuff there. And I'm going to the Raleigh SuperCon which is in July. So it's a little ways off, but it's right around the corner, really, where the guest will be Dave Bautista. Will be there on the Saturday. It's Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. He will be there on Saturday. Sean Gunn from Guardians of the Galaxy and the Belko Experiment. He is actually James Gunn, the director of Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 1 and 2. He's his brother, and Sean actually physically played Rocket in a green suit. So it'll be cool to see him. They also have several, creators, voice actors. Amy Jo Johnson, the original Pink Ranger, is going to be there. You'll enjoy this one, Starch. It is we're going to get to have a little bit of Captain Kirk action because William Shatner is going to be there.
Yes.
So Shatner's going to be there. And there's going to be some really cool comic book artists and creators there. Oh, John Barrowman from Arrow. It's funny, we were talking about Merlin. He plays Merlin on Arrow. John Barrowman.
Oh, okay.
He'll be there as well. Some voice actors, and then I'm pretty stoked because Jim Starlin, who has done books like Batman, Captain Marvel, a lot of DC Comics.
I know him. I know Starlin. I believe he did Infinity Gauntlets. Yes, indeed.
Infinity War, Warlock, Dreadstar. He's going to be there, so I definitely want to meet Jim Starlin.
That's really cool. That he's up there for me.
Yeah. So that I was thinking about you when I saw that he was going to be there. Also, there is going to be a group there called Fantasy Super Cosplay Wrestling. Wrestlers who wrestle in cosplay. Skeletor and his evil minions are taking on the good guys. I think Deadpool is one of them.
Oh, dude, it's a freaking.
It's kind of like Chikara.
No, it's WWE 2K like whatever.
You can create your own. Yeah, create a mode. CAW is all over the place, man. So that's going to be pretty cool. So we got some events coming up. We actually started live streaming some of our games. I have a Twitch channel, SBP Ronnie. That's SBP for Screaming Boy Podcast. SBP RONNIE. SBP Ronnie. So we will definitely social media the heck out of it when we stream. We had a pretty good night streaming some PlayerUnknown's Battlegrounds the other night, but also have like Assassin's Creed Origins, Call of Duty World War II, and a few other things that I'm planning on streaming. So it'll be a lot of fun to see these games and see me get destroyed at them and see me get frustrated. So there's some fun to be had there. Other than that, I think that's the last thing I've got.
You go to the Rattlich in Broadcasting Network Facebook page and give it a like. Stay up on top of all the great podcasts that we have to offer. I've been slacking on trying to get some content, sharing the content. Trust me, the content's out there. It's a matter of getting on there and sharing it across all the platforms, Twitters and Facebooks and all that. We do have podcasts that we share with the W2Mnet.com guys. Our good buddy Sean Garmer, who posts our stuff on his website, and we bring over the content that he has to ours to get some he has wrestling, video games, so you're not going to have a hard time finding something that you may want to listen to here on the Rattlich and Broadcasting Network. So go to blogtalkradio.com. Type in the word Rattlich, find something you want to listen to. If you like comic books, you're listening to this podcast now. I mean, shoot, we're 3 hours and 1 minute, Ronnie Adams, since I got everything, we got everything started. But anyway, it's 12:01. I'm right there with you. You were in this, I think, is 144 or 145. Episode 144, 145, somewhere around there. We're above 140 episodes. If there's something that you want to maybe just listen to us talk about that you haven't had the chance to read, or something you've read and you want, Infinity Gauntlet's right around the corner, or what is it called? What is this? What is the movie coming up?
Infinity War.
So that's right around the corner. Now, we talked Infinity Gauntlet a long, long time ago. I'm not going to swear by that episode. And honestly, here lately, I've been thinking about revisiting some stuff now that I've got a couple, co-hosts that I can rely on instead of myself sitting there going, turn the page, And I got some editing skills. I'd love to revisit Infinity Gauntlet and some of the other stuff we've done in the past. But regardless, that's on there. There's all sorts of great stories. Marvel, DC, independent. You can find something on there. I'm ready to go to bed. If you want to follow me at Stiznarkey, you can do so on Twitter. At SourceMattCast is the Twitter for Yeah, for the show. And hey, listen, if you haven't had a chance to listen to the gag reel, I don't care. A listen's a listen, right, Ronnie Adams?
Oh, yeah.
You click on that. I don't care if you listen to 2 seconds or you listen to 2 minutes. Fast forward it. Listen to the last 5 minutes of our last episode on 300. Trust me, you'll get a kick out of it. You'll have a great time. Listen to that gag reel. So Mark Radulich, who is probably, I bet you anything, asleep right now.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, we can lay money on that. He is asleep. I don't care what you think. He probably put the headset down and then fell over. He's for the ones, Ronnie, I swear we're getting out of here. For the asleep, Mark Radulich, for the barely awake Ronnie Adams, for the stamina and then stuttering Jesse Starcher, I'm ready to get out of here. Ladies and gentlemen, thanks for joining us. Have a good one. Bye. Goodbye, ladies and gentlemen. Bye-bye.
Yo, Jack, what's up, man?
Yo, BDP.
Jack, who are these guys?
That's my theme music. Every good hero should have some.
Again we start. Let me say my part.
I'm gonna put my foot dead in her ass. That's Shakespeare right there. Woo!
Are you clapping, Ronnie, or is that Mark?
That's Mark. I just wondered how far you were going to take it. And you took it.
The only thing missing on Two Bits' outfit was that he didn't have goldfish in the heels of his shoes. Jesse, there's only 2 ways out of this podcast. You can either take the window or the stairs.
Why don't you toss me? Toss me, and I'm
You're gonna have to toss me.
Like a real one?
Like a real albino. And
that's the greatest casting call I've ever heard. We need a fat albino. Who's out there? What if you're the casting director who gets told, like, we need a fat white albino? Do you just quit?
I'm done here. I'm done. This is ridiculous.
I am tired of this. This is not fair. This is not.
This is an ill-willed lie of a casting call.
Yes. To not the drug, but the villain, not syphilis. Syphilis, the villain.
Syphilis is taking over the DC universe.
Cyanide is here to kill.
You ever hear yourself say stuff out loud and go, "Wow, I sound silly"?
Oh yes.
Black Lightning takes down the white whale.
That's.
Do they also play Isn't It Nice to Have a Penis?
They aren't to our level yet, Mark Radulich.
Okay. They're still learning. I get silly when I get sleepy.
According to the Metal Hammer of Doom, Ronnie Adams has a lot of favorite bands.
Ronnie Adams loves the Go Penis.
You have to stay and listen to the rest of the plugs.
Okay. If you hear me snoring, you did this to yourself.
Yeah, I made him go first to avoid the snoring.
Marcus Bartholomew Radulich.
Marcus Bartholomew.
I don't have a middle name, and if I did, it would have been Anthony.
Ali Bartholomew.
Sometimes, okay, right. All right, we'll have to delve deep into the non-middle name at some point later in the podcast. As a matter of fact,
there's nothing to dive deep in my father.
Why didn't your parents give you a middle name, you weirdo? Next week you're going to be excited about it, as I always say to my son. Are you excited about it? Are you excited about it?
This makes me think of cheap seats when you used to talk with a British accent and make me so angry.
Forgot about that. Oh damn. Find the end button. Here, where's it at, Ronnie Adams? Find it now. In the show.
This is New York firefighter Raphael Porriette for Firehouse Subs. Every day, a part of every sub you buy at Firehouse Subs helps provide life-saving equipment for first responders. And now, for a limited time, they're introducing the Daily Sub Special. Every day, get a medium sub of the day for just $5.55. They kick it off with Meatball Monday and finish it off with Italian Sunday, with something delicious every day in between for just $5.55. Firehouse Subs. Enjoy more subs, save more lives. Tap the banner now to learn more. This is New York firefighter Raphael Porriette for Firehouse Subs. Every day, a part of every sub you buy at Firehouse Subs helps provide life-saving equipment for first responders. And now, for a limited time, they're introducing the Daily Sub Special. Every day, get a medium sub of the day for just $5.55. They kick it off with Meatball Monday and finish it off with Italian Sunday, with something delicious every day in between for just $5.55. Firehouse Subs. Enjoy more subs, save more lives. Tap the banner now to learn more.